Hey guys, it's Sadie and Sean have no friends, and today we're doing our interview series.
I
And
have a
this
friend.
guy, huh?
Well, you still owe me some money for that.
Oh, I gave my
Okay,
wallet to your friend.
just as a heads up, there are now two Seans on the show today, and so you're going to get the same back and forth, only double. And Sean, introduce your friend for our interview.
This is Oland Tucker. So I'll be serious for a minute because this podcast is never serious. But for a minute, Oland is a really great artist who is originally from like the Aspen area, like the western slope of Colorado, Grand Junction, Aspen, that sort of area, and moved to Nashville about a year ago.
Not even that. It was October.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're pursuing music. Just put out a new single as well. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it just came out on Friday.
Living that nightlife, laid back in the moonlight.
Just a song about going out, having fun, drinking beers, campfires, all the stuff that we grew up doing, grew up having fun. Don't say anything about running from the cops just because, you know, that we don't want to put that out there, but there was a lot of growing up like that. And I just left that one out of the song.
This is your only chance to promote yourself before we get into the real reason we're here. So you want
Isn't he
to say anything
pushy,
else?
Olin? Isn't he pushy?
He is. I mean, again, that's why I'm here as a quote unquote friend. He still has not given me any money for that.
I'm gonna give you something else.
It'll be quick. It'll be short.
No, it's this microphone right here, buddy. I hope you enjoy it.
I love this. Forget it.
You guys like
You
music,
guys
and you can find me on all the streaming services. You can find me on all the social medias and whatnot. Oland Tucker, Oland Tucker. I'm out there just trying to see what I can do, make memories. So when I'm 85 years old, I can turn around and laugh.
That's fun, man. All right. Well, you've made some memories over the years. And the reason we really did bring you on the show, I do love your music and I love you as a musician, but we're going to use you a little bit today because you have really cool stories. And Sadie's obsessed with like celebrities.
I am. Oh my God. And can I tell you that Oland, I love Kurt Russell so much. I think he reminds me of my father. And so I'm like, oh, I love you, Kurt.
He's that kind of guy. Like he's a dad guy. He's very much a father figure, but in like the way where he's like, hey, you need to figure it out yourself. Like I'll help you, but you know, and he's like
a down to earth guy.
Yeah, he came from nothing. I mean, he moved out to California from Maine when he was a little kid to work on his uncle's resort. And he goes, I remember getting a $5 tip. I thought I could buy the world. And it's funny because now he's Kurt Russell. He got to kick Elvis in the shin. Like he got to do a bunch of cool stuff.
Now wait, we have to not to. I'm sorry to interrupt, but explain how you know so much about Kurt Russell. You're not a stalker. You're not. You actually have like an in.
Yes.
I someone took the binoculars out of my truck and I haven't seen him for a while. No, so I actually I was in Grand Junction, Colorado. Went to college at Colorado Mesa University, and I needed something to do with my life. And I was working at a tire store, and so that's actually how I got over into Aspen. Is I got to start working at a ranch out there, just a private place, and so I'm out there working, and all of a sudden I get a phone call from Gardenia, California. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, great, my car warranty is about to expire. So I answer it, and he's like, hey, is Randy Brown available? And I thought, well, you got the wrong name, but yeah, I'll play your game. Yeah, this is him. So what happened was I kind of had to correct him a little bit. And then he goes, hey, it's Kurt Russell. And I go,
shut up. I go, literally someone called a fucking tire store and thought you were someone else.
Yeah. And then so I had to correct him.
Oh, shoot. You know, it's Kurt Russell. I mean, that's just like, you should buy lottery tickets every week.
How did Kurt Russell get your phone number?
That I'm not entirely sure, but he got it. And then because of that, he got all of this.
Oh, you know what? I'm dumb. I thought he called the tire store looking for some rando, but he just ended up with your cell phone.
Yeah, he got my cell phone number from somebody. And I just had to, you know, I followed along and I ran with it. And then I ended up on his property working on his ranch, running it.
And so how long did you run Kurt and Goldie's ranch in Aspen?
I was running it for about 5.5 years.
And then you quit because we'll back up a little bit in the story we just told about you going to Nashville. You believed in yourself so much that you left a job working for Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn to move to Nashville to make $0 as a musician.
Again, like we were talking earlier, I was kind of
confused.
All right. So
I am confused. Anyway, go ahead.
So you talked a little bit about Kurt, but tell us a little bit about Goldie as well and who she is as a person.
Wait, I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt again, but could you just give a little synopsis of how, because you're like, and it was Kurt Russell, and then I ran his ranch. Like, how did that conversation go? Was he like, I'm inviting, you're a great guy. Can I invite you over? How did you get,
that's
I hate to sound like a creep, but like, how'd you get in?
Yeah, he that's exactly actually how it went. Is he called and he's like, "Hey man, I'm looking for somebody to run my ranch. Would you like to come out and run my ranch?" And I said, "Sure." You know, like what's the worst that could happen? I mean, I might get robbed, but at the end of the day, they can't really take much. So I show up, I drive onto the property, go to the address that he gives me, and just as sure as God made little green apples, he's standing there on the deck, hands on his hips, just like you would hope. And I'm pretty sure there was a little bit of a breeze because his hair was just blowing just enough. And that's how I got to meet Kurt Russell for the very first time.
You're the type of guy though, too, as I push the wrong button. You're the type of guy that isn't like a fangirly sort of guy. And so it's a perfect situation for you because you're not going to be like, oh my God, Kurt, I love you so much, and give him a big hug. That's how you don't get the job.
I had half of an erection at the time that I showed up, but again,
you had an erection? I bet every dude would just have like an erection as he gets older.
Well, I'm not going to agree with that, but
listen, you're saying you're going to be seeing him tomorrow night. Let him know that I said, oh, he's getting better with age. And Sean too. Say Sean had a boner the whole time.
He did. That's why I can't sit like right next to him right now. Actually, my elbow kind of hurts.
I got to be really honest with you. And people know this from watching the podcast that actually watch this. This is not me making this up. I'm not a celebrity guy. I'm not a movie guy. I'm not a pop culture guy. I can name 2 movies that Kurt Russell's in. And one of them is the Christmas Chronicles.
Yeah. That family loves Christmas.
But that's not his claim to fame, right? The Christmas Chronicles aren't at the top of the list. I don't know. I don't. I mean, that's it. Actually, that's the only movie I can name.
Stop
Tombstone.
it.
Oh yeah, Tombstone.
I even thought of Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2, which I would say was better than Part 1. If you'd let Kurt know that tomorrow night.
Wait! No water for him.
Part 2, he made that shit off the
if we knew this was a thirst trap for Sadie, maybe Oland wouldn't have joined us.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Are you taking notes, Oland? What I need you to tell Kurt.
I actually got my phone recording right now. We can get everything.
Are we going to talk about Goldie? Do you care about Goldie, Sadie?
No, I'm sorry. Continue on. Now I just wanted to know how you got in there. Okay, now Goldie comes into the picture. What was it like the first time she walked in?
Actually, it's funny because Goldie was fairly intimidating.
You're the carpenter?
Goldie's a very matter-of-fact person. She's the first woman to produce a movie in Hollywood, and so she became that way, very stern, very direct, black and white, because in the 70s she was sitting in an office full of suits and dudes, and she had to like be very assertive and say, hey, this is what I know, this, and that's just who she is. But at the same time, she is incredibly sweet. She is the absolute most motherly person on earth, and I actually call her Mama G. One day I was checking ditches.
I call her that too.
Oh my God. So
don't tell her that.
I was checking ditches behind the property, and I was just walking around just dirty as can be. You know, my feet are soaking wet. I had a shovel on my shoulder, and she pops the door open, and she goes, honey. And, you know, like, that's how she always addressed me. And so for like the first year and a half, 2 years that I worked there, I thought she didn't know my name. Like, it was always honey and dear and darling and sweetie. And that's just who she is. Like, she'll be like, honey, you're really fucking up right now.
She really tell you what were you fucking up?
I was behind on stuff, and I think one of the fence rails got pushed over by the neighbor's bull. Oh. And I was like, let that damn bull out. Like, I don't care.
You're like amazing because you were just you just did tires, right? And then you were like, what the fuck? I mean, even if I did tires, I'd go out and be like, I don't know how to fix a fence post. I just want to hang out with you guys.
Time out. There was some ranch experience somewhere.
Yeah.
You don't listen, do you?
Yeah. So my family's
Okay.
a bunch of ranchers. My mom's side of the family was nothing but ranches. They pretty much
Okay, that
started
makes sense.
Bayfield, Colorado.
How do you start Bayfield, Colorado?
I think you just move there and build a house.
Oh, and then that's
And-
it.
And then
Put
your
a
friend
name
goes, "Hey
on
man,
it."
you got a real nice view. I think I'm going to build next to you."
Next thing
You're
you
like,
know, you got
okay,
a
but
town.
this is the name. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
continue on.
So I'm standing outside and she goes, "Honey," and I go, "Yeah, Goldie," and she goes, and she gives me this look, and I was like, "Oh no." I go, "Mrs.
Yeah.
Hawn?" She goes, "It's Mama G, and dinner's on at 6. Don't be late." And she slams the door shut, and it's like, okay.
Do they cook?
Yeah, Goldie's a great cook.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Goldie's a fantastic cook.
And are
Okay.
they like eat at home every night? Sort
Yeah.
of like, this is the time we eat. We all sit down together.
Yeah, and that was like a weird thing for me because like I had expectations of people that like come from Los Angeles, come from Hollywood. Like,
Yeah.
they're always so busy. So Goldie has 2 kids, Kate Hudson and Oliver Hudson, and then Kurt had a son, Boston, and then together they have Wyatt. So there's
Mhm.
4 kids.
Which
There's
Wyatt, can I just Wyatt, if you're into the Marvel stuff,
Mhm.
he ended up becoming Captain America, right?
Yeah, he
Well,
is.
kind of in like, is he Captain America now?
Yeah, I don't know what he's in Australia right now. I don't know what he's filming
Sean is
exactly. But it's
so-
not
Sean
Captain.
is
He
so-
might be Captain Australia. So
Whatever
Okay,
works.
sorry.
hey.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just saying,
Your
like,
accent
he
sucks
is
as bad as Sadie. She was trying to do she was trying to do Australia yesterday as Keith Urban, and she was bad. It was like
so
Scottish
bad.
mixed with somebody who doesn't talk.
But
well.
you know
I'm
what?
just
Here's
gonna
the
say a word
deal.
that I'm not allowed to say.
Good God, Sean, I got to get my questions in. Here's
All right, go ahead.
well, this is more of a statement. Like, he's a good
Mhm.
actor, and I'm just saying that because a lot of times these, kids of art, actors go out and they suck, and you're like, ah, you
Mhm.
suck. And all of his kids are really good, and so
Yeah.
you go in, and when you have dinner, is it you and the 2 of them?
Oh no, it's like sometimes like Goldie will if Goldie's, for example, I think Goldie's 82 right now, I think is how old she is. And she doesn't like being alone, like for obvious reasons. She's 82,
Sure.
she's a very petite woman. With the way Los Angeles is, the way all of California is, she just doesn't like being alone. So what she'll do is she'll say, "Hey, we're going out to dinner. I'm gonna pick you up in 15 minutes." And it's like, "Goldie, I just got done scooping, shit out of the stalls." She's like, "That's fine." And like, so
She didn't
if it's
even
just that,
care.
a lot of the times it's just that. And then Kurt's a normal man. Like, he's a normal guy. Like, he just goes, "Hey man, you want to drink some beers?" Sure, come over to the porch and we'll
Okay.
sit on the porch.
Here's what Oland is so crazy to me is like they both have been in Hollywood doing stuff since forever. Like the computer that wore sneakers for Kurt Russell. Sean, I'm
Mhm.
giving you reference. That was an old Disney movie when he was like a teenager.
Yeah,
And so he's been
Sean
in
was
it
a
so
teenager
long.
too.
Yes.
How can you in any way explain how they're so trusting of people? Because that's, I mean, to be famous for that long, how are you just like, do you want to work on my ranch?
Well,
And then come
he
on
had to
in
get
for dinner.
he had to find out something about me some way, somehow. Because yeah,
Okay.
they are very trusting. Like, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
But it's like there's also like an understanding, like they can't be on the ranch all the time doing all the work. I mean, I could work 40 hours a day, 7 days a week for 40 years and I'll either die or quit. And when that happens, I'm going to have a to-do list. So there's going to be like, they just can't do it. So you have to be open to those things, like knowing that this dude that you just met is going to walk through your house and make sure that all the light switches work. It's going to walk through
Yeah.
and make sure that the shower, the steam shower works or whatever it is. And so there has to be
I
like
would
that.
not know how to do any of that. I'd take the job, you bet your ass, but I'd be like, your steam shower, fuck.
You'd be surprised what YouTube can help you out with.
I was gonna say I'd be on YouTube constantly.
Yeah.
Were you allowed
Okay.
to ever like hire like a general contractor?
Oh, yeah.
You could.
Yeah,
still?
so like when I actually met him, when I drove up and I was standing on the porch, like we had a meeting and I told him, I'm like, dude, I'm not a plumber. I'm not an electrician. I will find somebody to do that. I will make sure that they get their job done. That's just not what I am. And he's like, great, no
Okay.
problem. I think that's awesome.
It's more of
Okay.
you were the lead guy to make
Correct.
sure.
Yeah, as
everything's
the
taken care of.
ranch
Yeah,
manager, like I managed everything, but there's a lot of stuff that I would do. I would go and I'd make sure the driveway doesn't get rutted out. In the wintertime, plow snow, which is really all you can do in the wintertime in those places.
Yeah, but I bet you have like they have the best of the best snow plow, and so that's got to be a little cush,
Yeah, I had what you call a Bobcat tool cat. It's a
I don't even
two-seater
know
with
what
a
that is.
radio.
That sounds fucking amazing, though.
Yeah, it's like it's the coolest little thing on earth, and you can put snow plows and snow blowers, and we used to put with the snow blowers, somebody would walk their dog. I never figured out who it was, but they'd pick up poop in the woods, which is just mind-blowing to me. It's like it's the most biodegradable thing on earth.
Yeah.
Coyotes do it all the time, deer, elk,
And you're in the
cows.
woods.
Yeah,
There's
and
a
you're
bear shit in the woods.
yeah, I can tell you from experience they do.
They do. Oh, good to know. We finally know the answer.
This is the best guest. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so they'd pick up, because granted they're from Los Angeles, so like that's just a habit, right? Like you're a product of your environment. And so they pick it up, but then they didn't want to walk with it, whoever it was, and they'd set it on the snowbank. And so there'd be a little black bag on a 3-foot snowbank. So I'd drive up with the snowblower and I'd hook that thing in, and I'd hook shot it into the field, probably about 50 yards. It was a game of mine.
That's fun. How often are they at the ranch? Is it always?
No, so they're residents in California, and everybody's still working. And
they're doing these Christmas Chronicle movies because every year they come out with one, right? Are we on? Is it 2?
1 and 2? Yeah, 1 and 2.
Shit. Are they going to come out with can you announce that?
Yeah, right.
Don't tell Kurt I didn't know how many Christmas Chronicles.
I'm recording everything. Like he's gonna
Son
know.
Of a bitch.
Yeah, he's gonna know this shady chick.
Yeah, this bitch thinks she knows you. She doesn't.
How often are they at the ranch, Oland?
Legally, I'm not allowed to explain that.
Oh,
no, I'm just kidding.
Well,
no,
maybe not. Do you have people? That will lead me to a second question. The second half of this, so you can answer without Sadie talking over you, is: do you have people show up to the ranch trying to meet them?
Yeah, that happened one time.
That's the second part.
It's a really secluded place. There's certain times of the year. So like obviously if you had that place, like you would want to be there the nice times of the year. So like summertime, you want to get out of the desert and you want to go up into the mountains and you can go to trails.
Or like Christmas time,
And that's another one is like, because of the Christmas Chronicles, I can tell you right now, they have 76 blue spruce trees that are over 40 feet tall, and each one has Christmas lights in it. Because I had to
I was like, do you have to do that?
Tree. Yeah. I had to rent a lift and just put them up. And I started in August to do this. And granted, it's like the 8th wonder of the world. You can see this place from anywhere. And it's just this massive clump of trees that's just glowing in the middle of the night. And it was cool because there's tons of snow everywhere. And so that place just lights up. The family loves Christmas. That's
you take them down. Or do they stay up year round?
I put them up year round. I'm not taking those damn things down.
Kurt Russell, Goldie, Hawn, redneck.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
there's the
visitor. Christmas time.
Yeah.
Just the nice times of year. Obviously, when leaves are changing, they want to be out there to see the leaves change. But people do some way, somehow kind of figure out like, hey, I heard this is their place. And so it's kind of funny. I'd see people driving by and they'd stop on the main road, which is probably about a quarter mile away,
Yeah.
And there's some people that'll like ride their bikes because, it's Colorado and everybody's fit and stupid. Yeah. I hate
no.
That's a whole nother subject, a whole nother podcast on road.
I would never stumble upon their ranch while riding a bicycle. That I can promise you.
Better not. That's how you get shot. It's a Wild West out there. So
yeah, this dude was in Tombstone. You don't want to trespass.
This is kind of funny, is like the Tombstone gun is there. And so like I was checking the house and walking around and I grabbed it and I'm like, holy smokes, it says to Wyatt Earp from the people of Tombstone. It's on the handle. So I took a picture and I sent it to Kurt. I'm like, bro, because again, like I talk to him like a normal, like everybody does, I speak to Goldie like she's my grandmother, but she's matter of fact. And I sent him a picture of that. I'm like, dude, I go, can I touch one off with this? He's like, oh yeah. He goes, let's see if we can find some coyotes.
Really?
Yeah. And so
did you do it?
Never shot one. Never got to shoot a bullet out of it. But it's really cool because
that would be so cool.
Yeah. So he has that gun. And so like, if people show up and they want to at one time it happened in the wintertime, they weren't there. And this car drove down the driveway and it just cruised right past the barn and the caretaker's house, which is like the first 2 buildings. And as the caretaker, like they put me up, they gave me a house, paid all my bills. everything. They're
What?
like,
And
again,
I'm just you left this job. Music's amazing. We'll get to that later, but
you
continue.
can chastise me later. Let me finish my story. So this lady drives in and I'm like, who the, you know, and I usually have a schedule of somebody be like, hey, so-and-so is going to show up. You know, Robert Redford is just going to be at the property, just so you know. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So like, don't pull a gun on Robert Redford. So
it's sad that you had to take notes about that.
I know I had to be very like diligent of all this stuff. So
I'm not going to shoot Robert Redford today.
Yeah. So I jump on the
famous
four-wheeler.
in your music career.
You shot Derek Jeter.
Sorry, now I'm turning into Sadie. Finish your story.
That's a horrible joke, Sean. That's Robert Redford is a fucking legend.
But that's just an example. Like I never met Robert Redford, but that's just an example of like I would have a schedule, and so there wasn't anybody on the schedule. So I jump on the four-wheeler and I run out there. And I like walk up to the car and like, I like my space too. Like I like being out in the woods. Like I grew up in the woods, like in the mountains.
Acres is it?
70 in total, but it's a lot of like pasture.
Hey,
you know,
will you let him finish the story? So the lady pulls up
and I walk up and I kind of look kind of mean, you know, because I'm like, what are you doing here? And I'm not like the most pleasing person. Like I'll admit it. I'm there. And she's like, we just saw the Christmas lights and we thought it was a neighborhood and we wanted to come down here. And I looked her in the eye. I said, no, you didn't. And you need to turn this car around right now. And she's like, but
you said that?
I'm so sorry. Yeah. She's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no. Like we're done here. Like we're good. You need to leave right now because like, you're not supposed to be here. This is a private residence. And I didn't say like, hey, this is Kurt Russell's house. And then she'd be like, oh, saved on the map, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I was right.
My God, Oland, couldn't you have been like, oh no, this isn't a neighborhood. You can turn around up there and see the lights as you drive away.
What she was there
that
for.
wasn't very Christmassy.
No, listen, Christmas is one day. All right. Christmas music, if they play it like before Thanksgiving or any day that is in November, like I don't like it. No.
Okay.
It's one day. One chore-filled day.
So did she turn around and leave? And that was it.
I made her leave and I watched her drive all the way out. And then I went out and because the gate,
her license plate in 86, that bitch
shot one of her tires out as she was driving down the road. Oh no.
She drives off a mountain. Merry Christmas. Don't come back.
All right. So hold on, because this is my favorite story you've ever told me. And we only have 7 minutes left in this podcast. And I wanted to make sure we get to this one. We haven't talked about Kate Hudson, but you told me about a time you went to LA and ended up rubbing Kate Hudson's feet, but you tell the story.
Allegedly.
Oh, yes.
Did not. So it was really funny because like you get to know the family really well. You spend a lot of time with them because like to me, like I'm part of their family and I feel very welcome in there. And me and another buddy that's a musician out here, his name's Lyndon. I needed help driving stuff out to Los Angeles, like all their Christmas stuff. And I needed to take another car out there. So we're driving and we get really close and I look at him. I was like, hey man, I forgot. And I mainly did it as like a joke to be like, just to kind of get his mind going. I'm like, don't be weirded out if Kate Hudson asks you to rub her feet, but don't say no. Like you have to rub her feet. Otherwise, like we're screwed. Like we don't have a place to stay. And he's like, he goes, what? Like, what are you talking about? So we get to the house and, you know, again, they're very welcoming. It's so good to see you. Please come inside. We have dinner ready for you. All this stuff. Actually, before that, let me go back just a little bit. We're at Kurt and Goldie's house and Kurt comes walking in and he has FaceTime on and he goes, I don't know, talk to him, throws me his phone and it's Kate. And she goes, hey, are you going to be staying at our house?
Ooh.
And I was like, I don't, and I look at Kurt, I'm like, I don't know how to answer the question. And he goes, say yes. Like he's standing behind the phone. I go, yeah. And he goes, honey, we're going to go watch the game at Kate's house and runs out the door. So we get there. And we go downstairs and we're watching the football game and in the theater room. And she just, you know, we're all watching the game. And then you just kind of hear Kate go, will you rub my feet? And Lyndon goes, and just, she didn't say it to Lyndon, but he just froze and his eyes were just dinner plates. But she was talking to her fiance, Danny, who's just a great dude, you know, but his eyes were absolute dinner plates. And I started laughing hysterically. So it's just one of those funny things and just a fun little prank.
So how did it happen where you I mean, you love music, obviously, but couldn't you do both?
It came to the point where I couldn't, because like cows don't know what a Friday is. Irrigation doesn't know what a weekend tour is. And so if
Yeah.
something happens, like you have to be present. That's part of the job. And so it just started to overlap. There'd be times where I'd leave the ranch at 2:00 and I'd drive up to Laramie, Wyoming, play a set, and then jump back in my truck and drive all the way back to Aspen. And it was just tough. You know, it got to the point where everything, and then I had to be up 3 hours later, feeding animals, you know, all that stuff. And it just came to the point where I thought, you know, if I want to do it, I got to give it the old college try. I got to give it, you know, an honest effort. And that's the conversation that I had with Kurt and Goldie. I sat down with them and I said, hey, I really want to try and do this music thing. And Kurt just kind of leans back and he smiles and he goes, Goldie, I told you. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, we were actually talking about this the other day of like trying to have a conversation with me that I should go for it. But he's like, we didn't want it to seem like we were firing you.
Oh God,
Yeah,
I
honey,
love
you done fucked up.
them.
Yeah. So
Honey.
and this
Oh my
whole
God.
thing, he told me, he said, if it doesn't work, he said, give it an honest try. If it doesn't work, call me. And he goes, we'll figure
Stop. So
something.
you could go back whenever.
Yeah, I was just there last night still.
Oh my
That's the coolest part
God.
to me is you truly become friends with these people.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
when you come back to town, you go hang out with them.
Yeah, exactly. And so like this weekend, I'm putting on a songwriters festival. It's called the Mid-Valley Songwriters Festival in Basalt, Colorado. And I'm bringing songwriters out of Nashville that I've got to meet, and then songwriters out of Colorado that are, you know, really good friends of mine. And I'm going to this event and I called him up. I'm like, hey, we need a place to just park the bus. He goes, you know, we have power at the barn, pull in. He goes, we have dinner but then afterwards we'll come down and drink some beers. And that's just the way they are. Like, they're just honest, great, straightforward people. And it's just people, honestly, that I would bend over backwards for. And because they've done the same for me. And
That's
I just can't speak.
shocking.
I know you think like LA people, like they're, you know, they're
Yeah.
terrible people, but they're amazing, supportive people. And like, I had I had a donor, that was supporting this songwriters festival 2 weeks ago. He backed out with, you know, $6,000. And so I'm telling Kurt, he asked what was going on. I'm like, man, it's really hard. You know, he goes, well, you're struggling and that's good, but I'll send you some money. And so he's
Oh my
backing my
God.
songwriters festival, and Goldie jumped in on it too. Like, that's just who they are. They want to see people be successful, and they want, you know, they love their people, and they love very, very hard.
And they're such big stars too. I mean, it's like they could be divas like J-Lo, but they choose not to be. And that's so refreshing. And how amazing that they met each other and they're both not assholes. It's a true love story.
I have to have a diva tendency or two. So what is it?
Well, they're like, but it like there's an expectation, like you are getting paid to maintain something.
Yeah.
And so like Kurt, it will be like, hey, I need a fence built by 2028. Like, give me the fence and we'll be good.
Realistic,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And he wants his truck clean. Like, that's his expectation. No problem, bro. Goldie will give you a list that's 11 miles long, and each little thing takes, you know, half a second to do. Like, oh, this light bulb is out. We need to fix this.
Sounds like my wife. That's just
So in a
woman.
way, you're kind of
Yes.
like, wouldn't
I
it
love
be
your-
easier, Goldie? But you know what? She's in her 80s, so she doesn't want to. I was going to say, wouldn't it be easier just to do it? But I mean, that's why you're there.
But that's literally the job, you know. And when I was talking to her last night, you know, she's talking about how everybody's going out and doing work, and you know, like I said, people are flying out, and because all the kids are actors, you know, they all have their own careers. She's like, I'm just gonna be by myself. I was like, well, why don't you call me and we'll go hang out? Like, you know, I'll fly to Australia with you. She goes, oh, would you? And I was like, oh shit, I think I'm going to Australia.
She's like, perfect. I'll buy it. I'll get the tickets now.
Yep. She
That's
just
amazing.
again, she just loves company, and they love fiercely. Like, they're fantastic people. They get me Christmas presents every year. It's awesome.
Kate wants to be a musician or is pursuing a career in music too.
Yeah,
So
she just put
will
a
that
record out
overlap?
there. I'm actually trying to kind of stir something up like that. And I don't want it to be like a business thing, but at the same time, she just put out a new album, and it slaps, as the kids say these days.
Yeah.
You know, and actually
I've seen her on like some performing on some stuff, and she's really good.
she's an amazing singer, and I don't know what do we got, 1 minute left?
Well, that doesn't like shut off.
Doesn't like shut off.
Yeah.
Hurry,
So-
40 seconds.
So I was in Nashville at the time, and she calls me and she goes, hey, are you going to be in Aspen on this date? I can't remember exactly what it was. months. And I was like, actually, yeah, I am. I'm going to be back in Colorado and touring. So she's like, okay, you need to be at Bad Harriet's in Aspen at 6:30 p.m. I was like, cool. She goes, I'm playing. It's my first show. I'm really nervous. I would love for you to be there. I said, great. Absolutely. I'll be there. So I show up and I'm dressing like, I mean, again, like a rancher. I got Wrangler jeans. I got a denim jacket. I'm wearing the Canadian tuxedo, a dirty hat. And I walk in there and their guy goes, he just looks at me and he goes, it's a private event. And then there's this rich dude sitting next to him. And the rich guy was like, I know my name's not on the list, but like, what does it cost? Because in Aspen, like money doesn't exist. Like that's not a thing.
It's
Aspen's
like,
a fairy tale land. And I told the guy, I'm like, yeah, I know I got invited. Like I'm supposed to be on a list. And I'm trying to be polite, you know, not call him an asshole because he's just trying to do his job.
Of course.
Because you only do that during the holiday season.
Yeah, exactly. Only during the holiday season. I am Scrooge. And he goes, okay, what's your name? I was like, Oland Tucker. And he's looking at it and he goes, oh, shit, you're sitting with Kurt and Goldie. And I go, yep. And the rich guy beside me goes, what the fuck?
Did he get in?
He didn't get in. The guy's like, leave, we'll take your jacket. And I was like, see ya. And walk downstairs.
This is how I know you're a businessman. You should have been like, hey, buddy, I got you, but we need to talk.
I will sell you my ticket. Let's talk about this money you want.
Yeah. Hey, I got the Songwriters Festival. If you sponsor this, I'll get you in.
I need a bus wrap.
Have you ever brought up the idea of maybe doing like a duet together, doing something together?
It's funny you mentioned that because I'm out here trying to kind of get this Songwriters Festival ready and kind of doing a bunch of things. And like I said, just last night, I was over there at Kurt and Goldie's house and I told them, I'm like, you know, I would really love to do like a duet. Like I want to go back to Nashville and I want to write a duet, and whether, you know, Kate co-writes it or, you know, she just sings on it. Like I really want to do a duet, one for sentimental value for me. Like that's something that I can hold on to. That's a memory of that time that I had with them. But two, putting Kate Hudson's name next to me on Spotify, your boy's getting millions of streams. I'm gonna make tens of dollars.
Yeah, right. What did they say?
True.
And Goldie was like, "Oh my gosh, I love that idea." And Kurt, again, he's like a classic dad. He's like, "Yeah, man, sounds good." And he just like got up and walked away. And I was like, "All right, see ya."
So did you talk to her? Were you like, "What do you think?"
She wasn't in town. Like, I'll be back. Like I said, tomorrow night. I drove up here specifically for this podcast, and you've yet to
did you really?
I have not heard one thank you yet.
I am so grateful. God, Sean, you're such a dick.
I just kidding.
I forgot to even offer him coffee. I know you're a coffee guy.
I'm sitting here watching him drink the coffee, and this poor Oland, dang it. Go ahead.
Oland, you got to pay your freaking dues, dude.
Yeah, no, I gotta cut my teeth.
When you're famous someday, I'll get you coffee and say thank you.
Yeah, I'll get you a backstage pass.
Yes, exactly. Hey, man, this has been fun. Thank you for doing this. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for like doing what Sadie wanted and
oh my God, I love them. They just seem like genuinely real, you know, like some people just they try to act that way, but they're not. And I'm like, God, I knew they were nice people. Yeah, I called it, Sean.
When music doesn't work out and you have to be a ranch hand again, will you choose Adam Sandler next? Because I want to talk about him.
They're actually Oliver's wife, her best friend is Adam Sandler's wife. So they're at the ranch a lot. So we can talk to him.
All right. No, I don't want,
okay, but now,
to talk to him for me.
Olin, when you go back tomorrow, please let Goldie know. I will come change her light bulbs for free. I won't even charge. I'll do all that stupid shit.
Now it's getting kind of weird because they're like, when is she going to get paid with?
This podcast is now over. Thanks, Sadie, for ruining it.
Shut up, assholes. Goodbye. Thank you, Oland.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Do you have sponsors to thank? Or are we done?
Oh, yes, we have to thank Christiana Salon and Spa because they're our show sponsor. And so we are so grateful to them. Just head on in there. They're in Johnstown, Colorado, right by Shields. And you mention our name and you get 10% off whatever treatment you're looking for.
That sounds kind of nice. I think a spa day would actually work.
Go get you.
Yeah.
You for it. Thank you for coming on.
and they have like a whole men's area. So you can, Sean got his butthole waxed there.
Yeah,
twice.
I'll show it to you.
Is that why you slid off the chair when we sat down?
That's exactly it.
It's like when a basketball player falls.
Are we done here?
Goodbye.